What's going on, folks? It's the Go Along Podcast. I'm Tyler Dunn here with my esteemed co-host, Jim Monis. We're rolling remote here on a Thursday night, 8:37. What's going on, bud? How we doing?
NFL heavy. I'm pretty proud of myself. I'm doing a good job of not buying into the preseason too much, trying to focus on what matters a little bit, just injuries, and that's really the only thing you need to pay attention to at this point. Who's healthy, who's not.
You know, these joint practices, it always seems like whatever you see in the clips of the actual practice, it probably means more than anything you're going to see in the actual game that fans are required to purchase tickets for if they have season tickets. Isn't that crazy?
We would get more scouting out of a joint practice than we would of a game.
Because you can set up certain things.
Yeah, just the practice, just they're not used to going against each other. So you get that competitive, it goes up a notch, it goes up that whole level that you're looking for to really evaluate, especially the younger players. Because that's what training camp's all about anyway. Make sure everybody's evaluate the young guys, vets, make sure they're in shape, know what they're doing. But yeah,
fights galore too. My God.
Yeah, it happens. It's just, but that's every year. I mean, that's football. Yeah. That's miserable. You're hot, you're miserable, you're tired of it. You just want to play a real game. That's high school, college, NFL. Right.
It's the beautiful thing about the sport, man. It's it's just rooted in violence,
in misery,
and barbaric tendencies. Like you're just cavemen out there.
Weather and
it just takes you to your essence of being,
especially training camp with the weather. Yeah, everybody's hot and
man. I remember, God, just think back to high school football, right? How miserable some of those. I mean, those were 2 days back in the day. Back in 04, 05, it was. We all had to get under the mile in a certain time around our cinder track with the grass growing on top of it. But
that was high school America right there. It was. It's so true. The mile run, 2-a-days.
Well, there's a few. What we're going to do here on the podcast, and we'll try to get into a more regimented routine. Let's start with some headlines at the top, Jim.
Yeah.
Let's hit on what's relevant right now as people are listening. And then we want to get into like a main topic of the day, topic du jour. And I think today what we want to get into is, all right, say you're running an NFL team. Jim Monis, you were just hired to pick your team, anybody. What type of head coach, what type of, I don't want to use the word culture, foundation, what have you.
Yeah.
What kind of building do you want? Because I just feel like with Hard Knocks, we're getting a look, and usually Hard Knocks has been, pretty terrible and not really giving you much the last 4 or 5 years, but it's actually been decent from what I've caught anyways. And anyways, we're getting a look at Dan Campbell, who is cut from a certain kneecap biting cloth. And then you get guys like Mike McDaniel, who isn't exactly going to gnaw on your flesh on a Thursday night. So there's a lot of different types of coaches out there, a lot of different ways of doing things. So I cannot wait to hear what you say, Jim, on the type of coach you'd hire, the type of building you want, the type of player that you want to propagate as you build a Super Bowl winner. So that's going to be what everybody hears later. But first, headlines. I'm really sick and tired of talking about Deshaun Watson. I'm not going to lie. It's just gross every time we touch on it. But finally, I guess we have conclusion, right?
It goes back to just our last pod that we talked about, and I'm just going to keep saying it. I'm done with the whole however many games, and I'm with you. But at this point now we know what it is, 11 games, which means how long, like we said, he hasn't played football in a long time. And I don't see how their season can be good at all. They just seem it just seems toxic. Like that situation seems toxic. Like distractions, everything you don't want going into a season, they have. So I'm over it. It's a shame for a lot of reasons, but at this point, let's hope. I really hope they're not good. I mean, I hope they're not good. I hope they're not good.
You put it best from day one when this started to really blow up earlier in the off season, and the reporting was revealing just disgusting details of what he's been alleged of doing in these massage sessions. Um, it's scouts, coaches, NFL people in front of a screen with a clicker, being emotionless, drones looking for somebody who's going to win them games, and that's the irony here. Like the Browns were acting that way from the top down. I mean, this is ownership. This has ownership's fingerprints all over it with Jimmy G. Has them just
clear.
The most incompetent owners in the league, and it's not even close. Really, I mean, and there's some bad owners, but they are the worst, I'd say, at least right now.
Hard to argue, but think about Wyatt Teller. Like, think about how hard he works and how tough offensive line and every down, and the next play could be every player in football, but their next play could be their last. But I'm just talking about the commitment they make to their franchise and their team, and they want to win. That's why they play the sport and for the money. But like, how do you look those guys in the eye if you're the owner? Like, this is the best we can do for you. Like, we're going to give you a complete circus distraction type of season in a division that's real. Like, that's a real division. I mean, so now you got to look at true pros. I keep using him, but I just think about these guys that are so committed to their team. Is their team committed to them? Is that doing what's best to put them in the best situation to win? You're going to go sign a guy that, regardless of anything, when you signed him, you knew there was probably going to be something. I mean, you knew you were going to lose him for some time. So you just went out and got a guy you knew you weren't going to have. And then you have to look these guys in the eye and say, okay, like Jacoby Brissett, is that who it is? I mean, we've watched him enough. It's just, I just feel for the guys that are out there, like I shouldn't say I feel for them, because look, we always say that, hey, they're getting paid, but
that old Ricky Waters quote that was, maybe not exactly quoted perfectly, but it's kind of taken on the folklore. For who, for what? You're getting the off-season surgeries. You're risking your body. You're risking your brain, jiggling around in the skull like yolking an egg. You're putting your body on the line. I know you're getting paid, but you're physically putting yourself out there. There's sacrifice. You're away from your wife, your wives, your children, who, by the way, you might have to explain some of this to. When you go home at night, what are those conversations like?
No question.
When your teenage daughter says, "How do you block for Deshaun Watson, Dad? How do you try to win for this guy?" That kind of stuff. There's all of that, but it's just so wildly ironic to me that they operated through that lens of clicker, anything to win, any means necessary. This guy's going to help us, and then you don't get him for most of the season. This doesn't help you win. And then when he does play, what is he even going to resemble as a quarterback? We don't know. Like, it doesn't help you on any front.
I mean, if they're 4-7, or whenever he comes back, or 4-6, he comes back week 11, whatever. Like, what's the point? Why play him? Because you're going to play him for next year. You're playing him for next year.
What about Nick Chubb? I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
What do you do with your best player, your running back?
Exactly.
Are you going to put another 400 touches on his odometer in what's basically a lost season? I mean, then do you stop there? Do you just start shutting down all your best players because this season doesn't even matter? I mean, it's a cluster. You know what? It's a complete disaster. However you look at this,
they're going to fight so hard.
It's indefensible. It's indefensible.
I agree. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, these guys are going to be professional, and they're going to fight like crazy to be good, because that's what athletes at that level do. They want to win. And I wouldn't count them out. I'm not going to say that. They're going to show up every week. Those guys are going to take so much pride in the fact that this is our job. We're going to compete. It's not right. It's not right. I
Yeah,
know.
it's lost
I
my
know.
train of
It's
thought there,
it's
but
not a
it's
fun one. I know, not fun.
oh yeah, I know what I wanted to ask you. So we saw the Jacksonville Jaguar fans giving it to Deshaun Watson in that exhibition game,
Yeah.
and what Joel Batonio, who I really like, he's a
Yeah.
character, a leader on that team on the offensive line. What are these guys you're talking about that's got to go out there? I mean, come on, dude. He said, what I'm paraphrasing, but he said something like, yeah, I guess it's Cleveland against the world even more. Like, are they really going to rally behind? Like, please don't rally behind this. Let's use
They're
some common
not. They're gonna
sense.
rally just being nobody thinks we can win. Not we don't have Deshaun. They don't even really know him. They're gonna just rally on the fact that they're professional athletes.
I did kind of like that chant. I mean, it was very pointed. 3 words: use sick truck, and they didn't use the word truck. I'm trying to get better with my language on the podcast, Jim. It's something I
No,
got
I
to work
know.
on,
It's
but yeah,
that's a
yeah.
fine line, the language thing. Um,
All right, I'm
it's
done.
funny
I'm
that
done.
it's
Is there
coming
anything
from
else you want to talk about when
Jacksonville.
it comes to him, Deshaun
It's
Watson?
funny that Jacksonville is looking down on Cleveland. Like,
You're right, isn't it?
where is your franchise?
I know. That's the state of affairs, though. It really is. Okay, Tom Brady. You said this was weird from the jump, that
Yeah,
he would just disappear like this, and where there's
I
smoke,
don't
there's
know.
fire. Where are you right now with Tom Brady?
I'm more just can't wait to find out what the heck it is. Obviously, we have no clue, but man, that's strange.
Yeah,
Like, obviously, it's not the end of the world him missing this time. I'm not even talking about that. It's just strange.
yeah.
And now let's hope everything's okay. I hope it's nothing tragic. Like, I really hope it's nothing.
I know we were kind of like joking and chuckling because we're just led to think it's Giselle related, and we remember Giselle, yelling in the bowels of, was it Indianapolis, right? He can't throw and catch himself. It's kind of been strange all the way back to then, but who knows? Maybe it's not a laughing matter. Maybe it's something serious.
That's what I'm
It's
saying.
it's
I
weird.
don't know, but
It's
you hope it's
crazy.
okay. But man, it's strange for sure. And I wonder, when he goes away from it. I just wonder if he's like, I just wonder if it makes him think. Like, he's like, oh, this is gonna be a long year.
It's not a perfect comparison, but my thoughts just went to Rashad White. We had that feature on him when he
Yeah,
was, living that JUCO life and
yeah,
abandoned apartments and cockroaches and rotting toilets. And, if you're out of state and you're at a JUCO in California, he's just outside of LA, I mean, you're betting on yourself. You're hoping
no
it'll
doubt.
work out. But he said so many guys like that are living like that, and they get evicted, and then find another place and get evicted. There might be a guy who says, "Yeah, I'm going to fly home and just get my stuff together, get some money, and be back." They never came back. Every time one of those JUCO teammates left, Rashad said they did not come back. That's why he never bailed to Kansas City to gather himself, because he knew he wouldn't come back.
Yeah,
And you do wonder, whatever Tom Brady's doing right now with family, with kids, with something that's away from football, could there be thoughts running through his head? I
yeah.
To me,
It's
he
funny
still
because I was
is.
a little
He
shaky
needs
on their
football,
team.
but
I was shaky. Yeah, I was shaky on Tampa before that. As far as I just didn't like the whole. It just didn't seem as as planned as possible. I mean, when it came out that Brady and Sean Payton wanted to be in Miami, that's that tells you he was gone. Like, he was good on Tampa.
it does.
So now he's back there with a new coach, and maybe he's just not feeling it. Who knows?
Yeah, you do wonder. I mean, it's hard to imagine Tom Brady not being all in on football at this stage of the game. It could be more of a Buccaneer thing than a
It
wanting to play
could,
football thing.
and because he will be all in. Like, if he is playing, he's all in, and that's why this is so like that's what screams just strange right now, that he would, because he would not leave unless it was something. Let's just hope it's not something, tragic. But
All right. I don't
that's
really
good.
have any
I think that's
exhibition football
headlines.
thoughts. That's it. I mean, I know Sean McDermott said the starters are going to play for Buffalo this weekend.
That's
Any thoughts
preseason.
there?
That's preseason. Great. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Well, I mean, you can play who you want. I wouldn't play one guy. You can play everybody else.
I'm more of a hit in training camp practice under your terms kind of guy
Agree.
than a play in preseason kind of guy, if that
I
makes
agree
any
with that.
sense. Because you do have to condition your
No, yeah.
bones
No, I'm not. I'm
for
not. You got to play. Yeah,
football.
guys
But
have to play. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, all it takes is one injury. And I mean, that is 1,000 times more important than anything you'd accomplish in this meaningless football game.
And that's the hard part, because every coach is going to tell you he could get hurt in practice too. And it's true. I mean, you can,
Mm-hmm.
but it's more controlled in practice when
That's
it's
what I'm
just
saying.
complete live. That's all. But to me, he wouldn't need to play until that opening night in LA. I wouldn't play Josh. I'd say Josh, just see it practice.
Don't you remember? God, was it 2011? Were you with this? You were with the Saints still, right?
Saints.
So that was my first year on the beat covering the Packers, and you remember
Packers.
that opener? How good of a game that was at Lambeau Field. It was prime
No.
time. Went down to the wire. Goal line stand for Green Bay. Right after they won the Super Bowl, it was exceptional game. But I remember thinking, like, what's the quality of play going to be like? Because it was right out of the lockout. Like, you didn't really have a normal
Oh, that's
off
right.
season. You
That's
didn't
right.
really
The
have a
lock.
normal
Yeah,
training
yeah, yeah.
camp, and people are
Yeah.
wondering what's the quality of play going to be like. And everybody got this just incredible football game. So I don't know. Sometimes we make more out of that stuff than we need to.
Yeah, I mean, the goal for is you got to find a way to just be healthy for the playoffs. I hate to say it like that. It doesn't mean that the games aren't important. Obviously, you got to win to get to the playoffs, but you have to do everything you can to keep your quarterback, most importantly, healthy for the playoffs.
General Manager Jim Monis,
Oh, here we go.
congratulations. Congratulations. You're running a professional football team. Okay. What team is it? Do you want to throw a team out there? Who are you running here?
That's a good question. I would have to go Miami.
The Miami Sharks. Straight out of Any Given Sunday, right? We can do something.
Does
Miami
that mean,
Dolphins.
wait, then who's the owner? Then Cameron Diaz?
Very realistic movie.
That
Eyes
sounds
popping out of sockets.
very realistic.
All right. I mean, we've touched on this before because you lived this,
Well,
with Doug and the Bills
Yep.
and thinking about the kind of head coaches that you wanted to hire. But even since then, even since 2015 and 2017, when you went through those two cycles, I feel like football has changed. I mean, you do see, I don't think a Mike McDaniel and his style is getting hired as a head coach in 2015. There was nothing like that. Like, there wasn't this emphasis on having a brainy play caller, play designer as the face here. And then at the other end of the spectrum, I mean, I kind of love both ends of the spectrum. I don't really know where I'm going to fall on this as we get into it, but I do like that Dan Campbell, man. I like the analogies. As Jamal Williams said, taking somebody in the shallow end and throwing them into the deep end and seeing they can swim with you. All that stuff. It's a violent game, as we say, not played in a mathematical equation. You gotta coach with emotion. You gotta play with emotion. I'm in on a lot of that stuff, but I'm not in on it if it's in a Mike Zimmer kind of way, right? If you're just gonna be an asshole like he was. I mean, this isn't my words. This is talking to people who have worked with him on his staff and players.
Yeah.
Toward the end, it was bad. I don't think they're saying that about Dan Campbell. So you can be old school. I mean, I feel like there is a needle to thread with kind of being that older school guy,
Yeah.
but it's still a game won between the ears in a lot of ways, and putting your players in the best position to make plays, a la Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, all of those kind of coaches. So, anyways, nobody wants to hear from me. I'm just a reporter. You've actually been in the NFL. What do you think?
Well, I mean, this is a good topic because, I mean, we hired McDermott and Sean. I thought Sean had a good mix of both, where he certainly had a vision how he wanted to put his roster together, the type of players he wants, their character, the culture of the word you hate, culture, but how he wanted the building to be structured. Sean had that, but he's not over the top tough guy, but his teams are tough. They play hard. And I thought he had that good mix. I thought Sean Payton and Andy Reid had that mix, where I thought they were ahead of their game when they first started as head coaches. I thought offensively they were both ahead of their time. I don't want to say ahead of their time, but they certainly were innovative, creative, but they were organized, detailed, and commanded respect and had toughness to their teams. Eagles, Saints, all were tough. Bills are tough. I do believe that. So I think however you can bring out toughness in your team, and then the right guys that need to be dialed into the head coach, like the quarterback, safety, the offensive center, linebackers, the communicators to the players, they need to know what you're trying to coach them. The other guys just got to buy in. The rest of the team has to buy into what you're selling. And once they buy into you, I don't care if you're a straight tough guy or straight X and O. If they buy into what you're trying to sell, you're the right man for the job. And I really believe that. And you can be either one. And I personally, look, Dan Campbell, I see that. I mean, I'm not there day to day. So I see the tough guy clips, but I'm sure there's more to it. There's more to it than just that. Because I'm not there, so I don't want to say, personally. And then McDaniel in Miami. I like his interviews. I like what he's talking about. But his team better be tough.
Yeah.
And I think they will be. I mean, the 49ers offenses were tough. I never thought of them as soft. He was the OC.
I've heard that about Mike McDaniel, by the way. His practices are tough.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
right? I mean,
yes.
You look at him and you think.
Yeah. You listen to the interview. The interview is monotone.
Yeah.
Arguably
too tough. I mean, I heard like OTAs, it was competitive in Miami. Like he had those guys going at it. Yeah. Which what the case was in San Francisco, which, look, that's a tough team. Pound for pound, I don't think there's a tougher team. Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner. I mean, these are guys that will just drag you into the back alley, and beat you over the head.
Yes.
But I think it did turn off some guys. But maybe you need that, right? Maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing if you're pissing off guys once in a while with that. But yeah, it just goes to show you. I mean, you can't judge a book by its cover. You watch a Mike McDaniel press conference and you think, wow, is this a college professor, a professional football coach? But that's kind of why I love him as a hire. I mean, if you can be yourself, and by all accounts, it seems like guys really like him so far and are buying in so far, and also still command a level of respect in that practice setting. It's unbelievably early everywhere. I mean, we can't draw conclusions, but that's probably the direction I'd go. If you can somehow balance
it. But to your point, this is the honeymoon phase right now for McDaniel, right? But the one thing about Dan Campbell that we learned last year, they didn't stop. Like they bought into what he was selling. They did. So that caught my eye more than anything. Like they showed up every week, and they lost a ton of heartbreaking games last year. So they bought into Dan Campbell. Now, are they good? And now the next step obviously is, are they good enough?
Well, let's just stay on the Lions then, real quick, because it's interesting that in that second year of their rebuild, where they might have a top five offensive line. Their line's really good,
I would agree. It's really good.
and I mean, really, from left to right.
It's good enough. It's good.
And then you look at their backs. You've got DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams. You've got
Love the
a
backs.
pretty decent set of receivers too.
Agree again. I know where
Especially,
you're heading. You're heading to the.
but I'm saying is like obviously they're
No,
keeping the quarterback door open.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
They got to get around to that and figuring out what the plan is there. But you could say that Jared Goff is in a position where you can evaluate Jared Goff, right? Like you're going to know what you have in Jared Goff because everything around him is pretty darn good. The defense is going to be better. You know, there's nothing wrong with building from the inside out while you're still trying to find the quarterback instead of rushing into that quarterback decision. I mean, they could have said, no, Malik Willis, you know, with our first pick, and we don't necessarily all believe in him, but that's our guy. And then you're all in on that guy, right?
No doubt.
And that's it. Like then you're surrounding him with talent on that rookie contract, and for better or worse, you're down that road.
I know. After, like we've probably said this before, but after Rodgers and Mahomes, Goff is probably the third most talked about quarterback on this podcast.
And justifiably so.
And I will say this, and I've never been a believer, but at the same time, he has done some things. And it's like you can't toss aside what he has accomplished. He has done some things. It's hard. I got to get out of my head what I watched last year. It was ugly. Mm-hmm. It was. Like it was not.
It got
good.
better at the end.
Yeah, I can go back and forth on that a little bit, but
you didn't. I said that with an upward inflection, though, Jim. You know, with optimism.
I will give the Lions credit. They, like you said, they didn't go for somebody. They had a plan that, hey, let's see what we can do with this guy. So give them credit for that. I mean, but like I said, hey, they played hard for Campbell. They bought in. Goff's coming back second year. Maybe he's a little more comfortable getting over whatever it was. That's not easy, just switching teams. So yes, could they be decent? It's hard for me to say yeah, but hey, I bet the over on their win, so I'm hoping.
Well, it's a different. I'll just say this: it's a different level of intensity. I think day in and day out with this staff and with these players. I mean, Jamal.
I will say this, Tyler. I gotta tell you though, I work with every team I work for, man. You've been around. These guys, it's a professional job. Like you can be rah-rah or not rah-rah, however you want to term it, but these guys show up and work hard. Like no matter what the coach is. Like I do believe that. I'm not saying I'm talking about their professional work ethic, toughness. These guys are fighting for jobs. That's why I said the rah-rah can be, you gotta be careful with it. Because some of these guys don't need it. They just need to look. You don't need to do. I'm good. I'm motivated.
I'm not really getting at the rah, but just the overall. I feel like we all saw Jamal Williams' speech, right? And he's teary-eyed and he's trying to get guys going. That seems real to me. I think that they are weeding out the sort of players that are just kind of floating by. And it is a professional job, but I think there are a lot of players in the NFL who just kind of float by. They kind of punch in, they punch out, and you know, it's just a job. It's not a passion. And I think that you got to have guys that have that passion, that truly do love it. If you're the shitty Detroit Lions and you just for 3-13-1, like just floating by isn't going to work. I mean, it's true. Like you do need guys who love it and are in and want to work. I think they have more of those players. I mean, they're if not the youngest team in the NFL, one of the youngest. They have one guy who's over like 31 years old, Brockers. So I think that clean slate is there with trying to build a certain type of player that's going to take on the personality of the head coach.
I like what you said about what his style will do is weed out the guys that aren't buying in. You're going to find out like, hey, this guy, if he's not buying into me, I don't want him on my team as a coach. And that's where, and you're right, it's not necessarily about the rah-rah. It's about the toughness that you're bringing every day and asking guys to show up and be tough every day. Because we've talked about this on the pod. That's, to me, is the number one. Toughness is it in the NFL. Yeah. That's what separates the guy. After talent, all these guys are pretty talented. Yeah, some more than others, but toughness, you can't put a value on that. And that's what he's trying to. So you're going to, like, Sean Payton did that in New Orleans. That first year, you know, I don't know, first 2 years, he got rid of like Aaron Brooks, Dante Stallworth, Joe Horn. They were good players, all of them, but not for him. I'll never forget
Cincinnati
that.
Bengals. I mean, Paul Denner Jr. We had him on the podcast. He
Yeah.
broke it down where they had to kind of get rid of Marvin Lewis's old crew, where there were some good players.
But that linebacker,
Montez Burfict.
Perfect. Get rid of those guys. Get rid of him. What's he doing?
Even like a Geno Atkins, who was very good. You had to kind of move on from the old guard, as Paul said. Like they were the guys kind of commanding the room, setting the tempo, and you do have to bring in your own. And we're gonna, if people haven't read it yet, it's at golongtee.com Friday morning. Chidobe Awuzie, like here's a guy from Dallas. Eli Apple, outcast from the Giants and the Saints. Mike Hilton didn't even get an offer from the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I know.
Trey Hendrickson. You're bringing in all of these players from all of these different places. They've all been counted out. They all kind of have what we're talking about, a reason to go into work and kick somebody's ass. Like, that's not just a job, it's a passion. And by November, December, Chidobe really said, like, they were trusting each other. Like, they were buying into what they were doing.
Oh,
and it's not just cliche. I mean, it's not that trust matters. You remember Chris Borland, right? I mean, linebacker who retired at 24, San Francisco. That was my first story at Bleacher Report. I think we sat down and he even was saying how much he loved football was because if you don't hear that audible from the safety, like your head might just, I mean, be turned sideways by a 275-pound tight end. Like you've got to be in the moment, trusting your teammates because it's a violent sport played by violent people, and he meant that in all the best way possible because football just gives you that element of trust that you don't get in any other sport. Like, you know, you screw up on the basketball court and you might turn the ball over and be embarrassed in front of the cheerleading section. You're not going to like suffer a concussion that's, you know, going to have you in a dark room for 2 weeks. So you want guys who like love each other, buy in, can trust each other, are smart, tough, all of that, because it's just different.
So true. You see it with Buffalo.
Yeah.
I mean, you're around those guys more than I am, just with McKenzie and just the way you could just see the way they treat McKenzie and talk about him. Like they're tight. Like that's a tight group. And then going through what they're going through with Dawson Knox's brother, and you can see that affects them because they care about each other. So that says a lot. You're right. I mean, you got to build that trust. Like if the Bengals said that, if he used that word, if he used that word trust, that's big to hear from a player.
He said how they hang out across position groups too, which seems like a small thing, but it really isn't.
No.
Usually in a football
it's
locker
not a small thing at all.
Siloed off, you know.
It's not.
And I think you see that with the Bills. I think they have kind of created that atmosphere. So, you know, and on the other side of the spectrum, there's a lot of teams that don't have that, and it can turn sideways fast, right?
Yeah, it's ugly.
Yeah. So if you're running a team, is there a head coach out there that checks every box?
Yes. I'm going to tell you who I would die. This is going to be crazy. I would want to interview this guy, Lane Kiffin.
He's come up a couple times, I think, but for
I
people who don't
I feel like
remember,
he's built for the NFL. I really believe that.
hmm,
I think he is because
what do you like about him?
he grew up in the business. He knows the business. He knows how important a D coordinator is for him. I've always respected him, and what he did at Tennessee for a quarter. There's a quarterback named Jonathan Crompton. I've talked about him before. That I still can't believe he got drafted. And I said Lane Kiffin just like that's all because of Lane Kiffin coaching him. Like if any other guy coached him, there's no way he's getting drafted. I just really like his style. I know he knows football, but he's not like all football all the time. Like I like his mix. I like the way he interacts with his players, and he jokes, he laughs about himself. I've heard him talk about his time at Alabama with Saban, and they obviously did not get along, which doesn't surprise me. But both are successful. So Kiffin's a guy that I would just love to interview for an NFL job.
Is he gonna get that shot again?
Kiffin?
Yeah.
I don't think so. For some reason, and he might. I don't know if he wants it. I guess he would want it if the price is right. But he's got a good thing going.
Nothing wrong with coaching football in the SEC.
No, and they're gonna no, especially now with the way it's so top heavy in college football. Yeah, you're one of the probably 20 teams that even can remotely compete.
Have you ever talked to him? Got to know him?
No. No.
So this is purely your football soul.
That's why I said I'd love to interview him. Yeah. I would just love to hear it. And then he could hire as his D coordinator Jim Schwartz or Greg Williams.
Yes. I like it. I like it. It just goes to show that if you're a coach on the rise and you have options, boy, you have to be choosy. You really do, because Lane Kiffin just walked into a absolute field full of landmines there with the Oakland Raiders, and it was disaster. Al Davis,
Jamarcus Tyler,
Russell,
that thing was he never wanted Jamarcus Russell. Failure. He never wanted Jamarcus Russell. He was set up. What do we talk about? Owners spend money, stay out of the way. That wasn't happening. Who was the GM and who was Kiffin's GM? I don't even remember, but they probably didn't have a relationship. And who was the quarterback? They had no chance for success. They didn't hit any of the big four.
It falls apart. He goes back to college, and that's it. It hurt his reputation big time.
It's turned out to be a great hire by Sean McDermott. Talking about Leslie Frazier was a big time hire for him, and that was Sean was talking about Leslie and another guy for that position, and he ended up choosing going with Leslie, and that was smart as a first time head coach to get a guy that's done it, a guy that you've worked for and respect. And I feel like that was we joke a little bit about how he didn't, obviously it took a little bit to get the offense side right, which it was kind of almost bad. When you think about Rick Dennison, David Culley was a quarterback. It was just like thrown together. Think about it. It was thrown together.
It really
Leslie brought stability. That side of the ball was solid. Then he got Dable in there, got that side solid. That means so much to a coach, like to be able to hire correctly, your coordinators especially.
Leslie Frazier just has such a calming effect.
Man, he is.
Think about how bad it was in Minnesota when he became the head coach, right? The
roof
was caving in. Brett Favre with the text messages, Percy Harvin. That 2010 Vikings season should be a documentary. Everything went wrong, and he was able to. He came in and took them to the playoffs. Adrian Peterson had that crazy season. I get it, but he's winning with Christian Ponder and not much at quarterback going on.
It'd be fun to get a guy like Ben Lieber on the show sometime.
I've been trying. Ben,
No,
if you're
I'm
listening,
kidding.
I've been
I'm joking.
texting and
I know.
calling you.
But maybe some guys are just better. That might be Lane Kiffin too, where maybe he's a better coordinator than he is a head guy. The interview would be fascinating. Leslie Frazier obviously is a good coordinator, though. I don't know if he's a good head coach, though.
What's
And
that ingredient that he's missing then? What
to
is
be a
it?
head coach, that's a good point because I wasn't there. So I don't know how much. It's hard if you're not there. I look at Rex. I look at Sean Payton, Andy Reid, right? Andy Reid was offense, Sean Payton offense, Rex was defense. But Sean Payton and Andy Reid, they were involved on the defense. Yeah, they weren't calling the defense, but they were involved. I don't know if I don't know how much like a Leslie Frazier was involved on the offensive side. I think that's important to reach I think it's important for the team to see the head coach be involved in both.
Yeah.
And I really believe that. I like because everybody knows McDermott's a defensive guy, but I see the way he interacts with those. He has relationships with those guys. He watches the offense during practice. I know how he watches practice. Like he does that, and that's important. So I don't know if Leslie did that in Minnesota. I wasn't, not being there. I don't know.
The relationship between McDermott and Ken Dorsey will be something to keep an eye on because the relationship between McDermott and Brian Daboll, this isn't breaking news, doesn't
Is
seem
that
to be.
confirmed? Is that confirmed? Like,
I think there's enough smoke there.
yeah.
Right? I mean, go back to the Flores stuff and
No.
the owner's nephew basically saying, "Hey, we think we can get Daboll in here as the offensive coordinator because he wants out of Buffalo." Kind of went away.
It did go away. It did.
I was told, that offensive staff, they were not pleased that the head coach kind of blasted them after that win game against the Patriots, that they felt that those conversations could have been had directly. So it was, yeah, I mean, it was in a bad spot. And obviously, Sean went public on wanting to become more involved, run the ball, get that going a little bit more. And boy, if you include Josh Allen in that, he was right. I mean, Allen ran more at the end of the season, and it helped. But it wasn't. You got to let an offensive coordinator like develop a style and a rhythm, and
It's hard.
Daboll had that. Like Daboll had his way of doing things, and it got the best out of Josh Allen overall. It's almost one of the more sneaky storylines, not just here in Western New York, but in the whole NFL. But I mean, here's maybe the best quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, on a Super Bowl favorite with a new offensive coordinator. Like, how is that going to go? I get it. Like, the tendency is to think everything will be fine because it's his quarterback coach just getting promoted. But like, calling plays is it's not like you're just playing Madden and picking your 3 or 4 favorite plays. It is layered, and it's chess. I mean, one play leads to another and another and another. You're setting things up. He hasn't done it. Maybe he's better than Daboll. Maybe he's worse, but it's a complete unknown, isn't it, Jim?
Unknown is the good word, and not. I like how you said that. It's not Madden. Can't just say, "Hey, we ran this play. Let's run it." It's different. So it's good. I agree. It's something to pay attention to.
And at the end of the day, players play, and they have really talented players. So I think the Bills will be fine. I'm not saying that.
No, I'm with you.
It's going to be Trent Edwards checking it down to C.J. Spiller, who's kicking then, Robert Royal. Those Bills teams are nostalgic now. Everybody kind of waxes nostalgic at those drought teams now. So we got to get some of those guys on the pod. All right, let's get to the final segment. Unless there's more you want to get into. You got your staff set. You got your culture set.
I got to interview Lane.
This is gonna be fun, Jim. So I threw out there on Twitter.
Oh boy.
And it's about that time.
Love it.
Ship us your most ridiculous, batshit crazy questions for the Go Along Pod. Non-football, more outlandish the better. And we have a lot, so
Wait, is the first one Gina? Can you get a dog?
Oh yeah, I saw Gina pop up. I saw. We'll get to that. All right, here we go. Jason Brown, always good to see JB. Loyal subscriber. Thank you, Jason. Always reads, always reaches out. Great dude. Would you give up your favorite TV show in order to never have to watch your kid's favorite TV show ever again? It's a good question.
Would you give up your
Would you give up your favorite show in order
No.
to never have to watch your kids?
No. I can get through it. I couldn't give up my favorite shows.
That's a no for me too.
Yeah.
You know, there are
I don't mind Peppa the Pig
couple-
Peppa the Pig doesn't bother me that bad.
No, Peppa's fine. Bluey's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, you put me on. That was good. He likes that one.
It's those rogue shows like on the Roku channel. There's this Diana show where it's just like a 5-year-old girl and her brother just running around getting into shenanigans. It's just like all sensory images just to, you know, and obviously Blippi is horrendous and will never make it to airtime in our household. But if it's one of those shows, I could see it. Like if our kids were like hooked on one of those, yeah, absolutely, I'd give up something. So depends, I guess, right? All right. Kyle Trimble, who we have to see in person. Kyle wanted to hang out with us at Hamburg, and that was when I think we were doing some traveling.
Yeah.
We couldn't really lock in person those couple weeks. So Kyle, we're going to see you soon. Thank you very much for subscribing. He asks, how often do you have to use the quote, I have to get some writing done, record a podcast, I'm leaving the house, quote, when your kids are driving you insane? If so, does it actually work? Sincerely, a dad looking for a better excuse when his kids are in rare form. All right. I know you're going to call BS, but I honest to God, I haven't used that as an excuse. When I have to write or work, I swear on the Bible it is because I have to write and work. It's not just a cop out. It's
just say
we're pretty nonstop here at Go Along HQ, Jim.
Just say you're going to golf. You started golfing. That's why most guys golf, and women. Because I live here at the golf course here, and I see plenty of men and women golfing that aren't very good. And they're not like, I'm just saying, they're just trying to get away from something.
What percentage of people with significant others and children golf just to get away from said significant other children? Like, what percentage would you put that at? Like, that is the number one reason they're golfing.
6 hours. Somehow it's become accepted.
25%, 30%.
I've always said, I think I said it on here before, but man, if you could see your significant other golf, whether it's men or women, and you go and watch how bad they are, it would be confusing. Like, why would you want to spend 4 hours away from me?
Yeah, golf has always just seemed like a magnificent waste of time to me. I never got into it, just too slow and
yeah. But you don't have that. You really can't. That's really not an excuse to. You have to work like between your book and pod and.
Hey, if you're watching, here's the book. The advanced copies are out, so the real deal will be out October 18th. Amazon pre-order. The blood.
It's crazy to think, man.
Football.
That's awesome.
Thanks for giving me that opening, Jim. I just took it. You know, just
That's
like Bam Morris and that Steelers offense in the mid-90s. Just had to up the alley.
You should. There had to be a way for you to do Dan Campbell as a tight end in that book.
Would have been great. He came up a few times in conversation.
Maybe that'll be for the
played with him.
Maybe the sequel, the next book, book 2.
Hell yeah. All right, there's so many questions. We got to keep it moving fast here.
Yeah.
Dan Meyer, Meyer's Musings, a great follow. A great reader. Thank you, Dan. He asks, "What do you think is the most likely to occur out of these three choices? You must pick one. Dwayne the Rock Johnson buys WWE. Dwayne the Rock Johnson runs for the President of the United States of America in 2024-2028. Dwayne the Rock Johnson buys the Buffalo Bills." I might have to answer this because you may have to recuse yourself, right?
I'm out. I love the question though.
That's a great question. All right, I'm
I
gonna
want to
go
hear this
with
answer.
runs for president. I think that he's going. I don't know if it's gonna be 24 or 28, but I think eventually he just
You
runs.
see it happening?
I don't know if I mean I think it's the most likely out of those three. Yeah.
Would Doug Whaley be the vice president?
There we go. Are you getting a cabinet position?
Yeah. What else is on there? There has to be some scouting position in the White House.
There's got to be something. Maybe like maybe you could be one of those 77,000 IRS agents, just trying to make somebody's life miserable, Jim. That's what you could do. Sierra. Always good to see you, Sierra. She asks, if you could be best friends with any celebrity, who would it be and why?
I like that. That's a tough question. Because celebrity is always different. A lot of people always say, like, what athlete would you want to hang out with? Celebrity opens a whole, that opens such a big world.
It's got to be hard to figure out a celebrity who is normal and values normal human things, right? I mean, they just live in this different dimension.
What celebrity would I want to hang out?
Whenever they want it. I really don't know.
There's one person, he's an athlete, but he's a celebrity. I would want to hang out with him all the time. I'll give you two people, but this is number one. Deion Sanders. I'm in.
All right.
He is. I love everything that he's been talking about. I've been saying that I think the Hall of Fame needs to back off every other year. He just came out and said it, that it's watered down. He just said his jacket needs to be a different color. I thought that was the greatest. Oh yeah, I thought that was the greatest quote I've ever seen. He also agrees with me, and I know you would agree. Why is Sterling Sharp not in the Hall of Fame?
Oh, he said that?
Yeah, he loves Sterling Sharp. That's on record. You can look that up.
I'm with you on Deion. My only problem is he wants everybody to call him coach. I mean, get out.
That's all right.
Like, unless you're one of his players, we don't got to call you coach.
I think he just brings credibility. He's funny. He's credible. I don't know. He's a superstar in every way.
I like it.
Who, you don't have anybody off the top of your head? Dan Campbell? Mike McCarthy?
I mean, I'd be getting into musicians and athletes, that kind of stuff, right? So
that's what, I don't have like be an actor.
Here's one. Maybe, I don't know if it, I mean, there's so many comedians too, right?
Oh yeah, they'd be fun to be with, yeah.
Speaking of comedians, I don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse here, but I don't know if there's any Dan Soder fans out there. We're trying to get him on the podcast. He says he would do it, and I think that'd be a hell of a lot of fun.
Be good.
He's hilarious. So he'll be my choice for that answer. All right, Dan again. Oh my, this is a great one. You two fellas can pick one band to perform at Hamburg Brewing following a closed circuit live airing of the Go Along podcast on a Saturday night. Who do you select from these three choices? Lowest of the Low, the Tragically Hip with Gord Downey, or Whitey Morgan? And you know where I'm going. I'm going Whitey Morgan. He opened for Cody Jinks last night at the Town Ballroom in downtown Buffalo and was unbelievable. It was great show, great venue, great country, great rock. Cody Jinks is guaranteed to just, bring the house down. It was packed. It was sold out. It's awesome. And he loves Buffalo, but The opening act, Whitey Morgan, with a beard down to his knees. Underrated. I had never really heard much of him before the concert. And the first thing I did when I got back to my house was just throw a bunch of his songs on Spotify because it was incredible. So, yeah, give me him.
I can't answer that question.
You're like, I don't know any of these. Mark David, good to see him, my man. Says he just finished watching the Manti Te'o documentary, which I cannot wait to watch. Haven't
Let me
seen
know
it
what
yet.
you want to talk about because I was scouting for the Saints then.
Well, that's the next part of his question. He goes, "Were the Bills interested in drafting him in
Was that with the
2013?"
Bills?
But you
Was
weren't
that with
right.
the
You were
Bills?
still with the Saints for that draft. That was
What was his draft year?
2013.
Yep, I was
believe,
Saints.
right?
I thought I was with the Saints. Yeah,
Yeah, so
it
Doug
didn't.
brought you
I
on
could
right
tell.
after the
What
EJ
was the
draft.
question again? What was the
He's-
question?
it- well, he asked if the Bills were interested in drafting him, but you were with the Saints that draft still,
yeah,
right?
I was with the Saints.
But his next question is, did Monis ask Manti about getting catfished? And I remember writing stories about this at the Senior Bowl. I mean, that was the number one storyline.
It was.
What was it like behind the scenes? Like, what are you
It
trying
was
to figure
so.
out?
You felt for him so bad.
Did
I
you,
watched
though?
that. Yes.
You
It was
believed
just.
him?
Here's why I felt for him. Here's how I felt watching the show. I'm not going to talk about it because if you haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you saw it, so you're.
I watched it on Netflix and I remember, going through it. When I say I feel bad for him, he got fooled. Like, I don't know how he got so fooled. I don't know how it went so far. That's for you to kind of figure out when you watch this. But he got fooled. It wasn't anything. There wasn't any, master plan behind it. And I will say this: it didn't affect his anything with football. Nobody cared. I mean, we had to figure it out. We had to talk about it, make sure everything was okay, because it was a little new and strange. But once we figured out and everybody knew what it was, they're like, oh, yeah, we're good.
You're right. I mean, Catfish, the documentary was just out, a couple of years before that, and the show came out.
Right.
I had never heard.
It was
the
so
idea of
fresh.
catfishing
I didn't.
at the time.
A lot of us didn't know what it was, but until that.
And it just seemed like it was too good to be true. Where like he was up for the Heisman, and like anything, that storyline helped boost his Heisman credentials. I mean, there were glowing profiles written and glowing TV segments. I mean, it was national news, and we see him on the sideline in tears on the knee, thinking about Lene Kakua. Did not exist, and then it was so. Right, I mean, I got to watch the documentary. I'm kind of jogging my memory, but it was like his cousin who was pretending to be her or something.
No, you got to watch this. You're
okay.
Wait till you see it. It was real. I mean, he was talking to somebody who was real. But just wait till you see it.
Yeah, Tuiasa Sopo.
Just watch it. It's good.
I'm seeing in the moment, I can see where you would think he just, concocted this scheme.
Yeah. There's certainly, I'll never understand how it got as far as it went, but man, I did. But at the end of the day, it didn't, he didn't run great. He was a tough, good football player. He was drafted in the right round. He was second round pick. That's fine.
Merck asks, what quote or saying do people spout that is complete BS?
Oh.
We might have to carve out an hour.
I have one.
Let's hear it.
Everything happens for a reason.
I kind of like that saying.
That's such a blanket statement. I mean, it's like, you could say that for everything, and then I can't do that.
You could. What about it is what it is?
It's fine. Same thing.
What I hate is somebody saying, I'm just living my truth. Now that's bullshit. I don't care about living your truth. Let's live in the truth. Like, there is a truth. There is a reality that we all must live in, We don't need to abide by your truth. We don't need to
Living
all
my
bow
truth.
to what you
Right.
believe. Like, no, there is
Right.
just the truth, which I should cut myself short before I get in trouble. Victoria, little snappy. My sister-in-law asks, who was your favorite sister-in-law? Well, the choice is Victoria or the field, and there's nobody else in the field. So I'm trying to think of something to piss her off, but I can't, Jim. She's a very good person and a very great
I'm voting
sister-in-law.
for
So
Victoria for me.
Victoria, you win this round. And there's Gina downstairs chiming in. This is a question from Ed. She says, our dog, quote, Wolf, can you adopt me a brother or sister, please, Wolf? We're not getting another dog, hon. I'm very sorry to inform you. That's just not going to happen.
Man, I wish I could bet on this dog thing.
Life is crazy enough.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Tyler, but I think I know who's going to win this debate.
No,
I think I know who I'm betting on.
It's not a even. It's forget debate. It's not even a discussion. It's not even a speck of a possibility right now. Getting a dog. Get out of here. Get out of here, Gina. Come on. Maybe like I was gonna say like a hamster, but no, not even something like nothing else. No living organism. We're good. We're very good right now. The Glenn, we are just talking about Bluey. He's got Bluey as his avatar. Good call, Glenn. Would you rather go on on an I still can't say this word ayahuasca trip?
Oh,
the hallucinogen
yeah.
with Aaron Rodgers and Blue of Earth, who is his girlfriend now. I mean, it's his new girlfriend, Blue of Earth, who we thought was a witch for a while, and then she came out to say she's not a witch, which is definitely something a witch would say, right? Would you rather do that or attend a December game at Lambeau wearing only a Speedo with the drunkest guy you can find at the tailgate? Oh my God, that's a good question. So would you rather do hallucinogens?
Oh,
and a
that's
lot
easy.
of them with Aaron Rodgers and Blue of Earth, or Lambeau and the Speedo with the drunk?
Let me know how the game is. I'll be with Aaron Rodgers on that trip.
You know, I'm gonna go with the trip. You're right. I don't want to be
that's
a
Speedo, no-brainer.
and I don't think anybody else wants to see that. But I'm doing it reluctantly. But there are some questions you could ask when you're on that trip, and maybe you'd get some honesty. Right? I mean, there's some things you could ask them.
It'd be a good chance.
All right. Here we got so many questions. Let's just rapid fire them here. Would you take 6 inches in height to lose 1 inch off your package? All right. Zedro88 coming in hot with that one. Would you become 6 inches taller to lose 1 inch downstairs? I'm good.
I hate to say it.
I don't need.
I'm good. I'm good the way I don't need to be taller.
Yeah.
Because I'm not 6. I'm 6 feet tall. Me at 6'6". I still wasn't gonna be. That wasn't gonna help me in my.
I'm not thinking what benefits in life do you really have at this point? You know, we're not playing pickup basketball.
No, I'm good.
Hey, Del, what's up, Del Reed? If animals could speak, which kind of animal would be the most polite? And which animal would be the rudest?
Most polite. Rudest would have to be. What animal do people just always stare at? And
pelicans are pretty mean.
Mean
up there. Yeah, they're. You ever seen a good montage of pelicans just being assholes? It's pretty funny. But yeah, they're pretty mean. I was surprised. I think sloths would have to be some of the most polite, right? They seem like very gentile creatures.
I like that. Maybe. I didn't think about sloth.
Yeah, I'd have to do some research on that one. All right, there's a couple more. Steve Wibble, if you had a time machine, where would you go?
Oh, I know where I'm going. Vegas in the 60s, 70s, whenever that Sinatra and I want to be Vegas when it was Vegas. Like,
I like that.
I would love to be a part of that. Gambling on sports back then was, that's the only place you could do it legally.
Yeah. I'm even thinking like way back in time.
Yeah,
What if you
that's
could
good
go
for me.
back to?
Vegas would be good.
I'm just letting you answer the questions because I can't think of anything at the tip of my tongue. But
No, you
yeah,
answered
that
good.
sounds pretty fun. And let's finish this with this one. Our buddy Tommy Greco, good to see you. Yes, whose effing idea was it to make Andy the boss on The Office? Great question. I have no idea. It wasn't good. A bad twist to a great show. Any thoughts?
Can't answer it.
Not an Office fan?
No.
Oh, all right.
I know, and I've tried. I don't understand why I can't get into it.
All right. We're kind of stumbling to the finish line here, but we're on E. What do you say, Jim? Should we sign off?
That was pretty good.
That's a good
I
pod.
like those questions. Makes us think.
It does. Yeah, I did not bring my A game on those questions.
That animal
Not thinking
question
on my
was
feet.
tough. A rude animal and a nice animal. That's a hard one.
You know what? Let's definitely think about that one and then come back with better answers.
That's
Let's
tough.
do our research. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you rating the podcast, reviewing it, sharing it with a friend, doing all that good stuff. We've got a lot of plans for this year. We'll get into those details soon on many fronts. Thanks, everyone.